Hey everybody, I'm Joel. I'm coming to you from my hot pink bedroom with the big black polka dots up on the wall, and we are here for the Dryden Weekly Hangout. So, for those of you who know who we are and what we do, tune out for a second because I've always got to give a little bit of an introduction for folks that are new. The first thing that I want you to know is we are open for submissions. We are available at drydensubmissions@gmail.com. That's DRYDEN. submissions@gmail.com. We promise it's spelled right. SUBMISSIONS. Oh my goodness. All right. So who are we and why might you like to submit to us? Well, what we are is we're a kind of a revolutionary concept in printing and publishing, game design, video design, in that we work under the Creative Commons model. So what happens is that we build universes, or environments, I guess I should say. Our biggest one is our science fiction universe, and they include all of the things that you might expect to see. The science fiction universe has faster than light travel rules and spaceship designs and planets and all sorts of good stuff in it. The Nightmares universe that we're working on right now has this kind of cool, twisty concept built by Eugene Kelly that describes why the world is so horrible in all the different universes where all the creepy stuff lives. And we put all of those environments that we create under the Creative Commons BYSA 4.0 license. And what that means is that you're free to use it. Come on in, use it, anything that you would like for any project that you would like, provided that you follow two rules. Number one is that you have to also put the materials that you create under the BYSA 4.0 license. And what that looks like is that you still own the novel that you wrote, or you still own the game mechanics that you wrote, but any of the environments, any of the characters that you created, any of the cool things from history that you created, anybody else is pretty much free to come in and riff on, short of literal text line by line rip off. It's open for use as long as you put what you create under the same license. And what happens is that we've got a universe that now has one graphic novel, 5 conventional books, a role-playing game with a first expansion out in it. We're about to release a mini game, and as you'll see when we start talking about, a miniatures combat game, and as you'll see when we get into the projects that are coming, a lot more cool stuff in that universe, and it's just very cool. We have very hip characters out there that reappear in different people's story. We have like the Geist Marines show up everywhere. They're these really badass characters that were invented by an author named Daniel Hunt. And we get to play on this really big epic scale, and we work together to promote each other, so we have a lot more market reach than any of us would have individually, and we work with a whole lot of new authors and young authors, artists who aren't well established in the market and are looking for a place to kind of make a mark for themselves. It's very cool. We're open to games. We're open to video. Someone's free to come along and make their version of The Martian except using one of our stories. We think that would be fabulous. And all of that happens under the Creative Commons, and so you're free to come in and publish wherever you would like, write wherever you would like, develop whatever you would like to develop. Then on the side, I and Tracy Vincent, who's here with us this evening, although she's off putting her son to bed, and Gavin Revitt, who is our art director, run a very small publishing house on the side called Dryden House. And we do nothing but support authors and artists who are working in the Dryden experiment. So we put up Kickstarters, we run promotional advertisements, we design book covers, we do a lot of the kind of background stuff that artists and authors don't like to do by themselves, for themselves. And so we've got this really cool kind of symbiotic relationship going on. We've got to work with a lot of the very most interesting and fabulous talent in the world. I spent 2 hours today talking to an artist or an author named Fluffy Sama on their first project. I'm going to be up at 3 o'clock this morning talking to an art director in England about a game written by a game designer in Australia, and we needed them to both be awake, so I'm up at 3 o'clock in the morning this morning meeting with those folks. So it's a really, really cool, there's a cool vibe to it. It's very energetic and hip, and we have a lot of fun, and once a week we get together to talk it out and chat about the things that we're working on. So if you'd like to submit to us after this meeting, send an email over to drydensubmissions@yahoo.com, or I'm sorry, at gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you about what you're working on. So what's going to happen next is I'm going to start into a talk about what we're we're looking at for the next year in terms of what's going on in 2016. We've got with us, as I mentioned, Tracy, who is my chief editor, and Eugene Kelly is also with us. Eugene, why don't you say hi and just sort of tell folks very briefly who you are?
Hey, my name is Gene Kelly. I'm a new author. I just got involved with the Dryden a few months ago. I already have one published work under them. I was one of the authors in the novel Rise of European. I'm gonna have um, one of my stories published under the First Nightmares compilation, and then also I'm gonna have a story published under another compilation coming out a little while later. So, and I work right now. I'm working on some project which is not it's sci-fi, but it's not directly connected to Dryden. But that's pretty much it.
Awesome, fabulous. The story that Eugene has coming up in our Nightmares Prelude to the Nightmare is called Otuanju, and it is the most excitingly creepy. Somebody dropped a bad acid story, so I really enjoy that story a lot. I want to make sure and plug it. So I'm just going to kind of launch into our week and our weeks that are coming up. So for those of you who are into what's going on and hip to what's going on, you'll hear the projects that you're working on and where we are on those projects and what we're doing. For those of you who are new, I'll kind of flag things as we go along to try to help you get oriented, because it can be a little disorienting at first. I also want to say hi to the online viewer. Online viewer, if you want to leave a comment, please do so, or send us an email. Let us know how you're doing. Over on the Dryden Author and Artist page on Facebook, if you want to join over there, you can get directly in touch with us. I, of course, don't know who you are because it just says viewer, but we're happy to have you joining us this evening. You're about 2 minutes behind us, so when you're listening to this, we're moved on 2 minutes ahead, but do post notes and ask questions because we love them. All right, so the first thing that's coming, that's happening, that we're really, really excited about, I got a message from Daniel Hunt this afternoon. Dan wrote The Eclipsing of Cyrus C, which is a book set in our world, or set in our science fiction universe. It's a really enjoyable novel about a secret mission that goes very strangely and interestingly awry. It's a very cool novel. Dan comes to Dryden with a real wealth of knowledge and understanding of the actual military, so when he starts talking about military things in a science fiction environment, it's got a really kind of a cool Joseph Halderman feel. Okay, it is Rebecca Rogers who is joining us, and she says that my face looks nice. Thank you, Rebecca. You're lovely. I saw you comment on Facebook, too. I appreciate your good word. Now I'm all distracted. Oh, well, and he also participated in our Rise of the European story collection, which is available on Smashwords, Amazon, everywhere like that. And he is coming out with a short story collection that are really kind of wonderful anchor stories for understanding the Dryden universe. He has created a lot of the environments that we work in. He has developed a lot of the well, like the Geist Marines came from him. There's a Federation and a consortium who are having a nasty little war off on one side of our science fiction. They came from him. He introduced an alien species that lives off on the far periphery of human space. And these stories are a lot of the sort of anchors for that stuff. It's the sort of the grounds where we started with those environments and so on and so forth, and he just tells really enjoyable stories. We are in final review. He had to take the name off of it because there was another book with the same name, so it's Dan's Mystery Book. But it's coming, and we're really excited about that. The meeting that I will be having at 3 o'clock this morning Central Standard Time, which works out to 9 o'clock in the morning in Sheffield, England, and 8 p.m. in the evening in Ballarat, Australia, is the design meeting for the layout of the cards for the Big Damn Space Battles game. Nick Mall had this great idea that we could build a miniatures game, except we could put them on cards, playing card-sized cards, rather than building plastic minis, and that way it would be a very affordable way to put people into a miniature wargaming environment in the Dryden experiment. We've been going like mad on playtesting. We have a Kickstarter up. And we've finally gotten the layout squared away, at least I assume we have, because Nick says that he's ready to talk about the layout. So the Kickstarter that we have running, I think what we're going to do is pull it down and relaunch it. We've had a couple of issues with it. The first one being that there was problems with the audio on the video that we put up, and a lot of people aren't finishing the video. We have most of the art in-house, but we haven't been able to lay it out on the cards to show people. So we just don't look very organized, and we're not getting as much response on that Kickstarter as we would like. We're actually half funded, but I think that we're behind our potential. I can see the traffic that comes in compared to the number of people who have backed us, and it's lower than the Big Damn Dryden when we launched the role-playing game. So I think what we're going to do is just pull it down and leave it down for maybe a week while we sort of get ourselves organized, and then we'll put it back up. I don't know that, though. That will get decided at 3 o'clock in the morning this morning, Central Standard Time. So anybody who's just up and hanging around at 3 o'clock this morning should, go to bed. Don't come to that meeting. Then the next thing that I wanted to talk about is one of the things that we have started doing with the Dryden catalog, now that we've got sort of a larger catalog, is we're going to keep something on sale sort of at all times. There's always going to be a promotion running somewhere to help draw attention and build awareness of who we are and what we're doing. Currently, Alder's World Part 1, 5 signed copies are available through the Goodreads, what is it called, Tracy? The Goodreads giveaway,
Yeah, the
Goodreads giveaways.
giveaways.
And you can pick that up. The e-version of that is always for free on Smashwords. And the next thing that's coming, we'll be doing a 1-week promotion on Rise of the European. We'll have it available for 99 cents starting next Thursday. So if you're interested in Rise of the European or know people who are interested in Rise of the European or would like to have a nice science fiction ebook for a relatively small price, we will be running that promotion for the week starting on Thursday. So definitely next weekend you'll be able to pick it up. Watch on the Dryden Author and Artist page, on the Fans of Dryden page, all the places that we usually post. All of the authors will be getting promotional material from Tracy that says, 99 cents this week only. That should be going out. Tracy, do you know what day you're planning on sending that out to everybody?
I'll probably send it on Tuesday.
On Tuesday ahead of a Thursday sale date. So we're gearing up for that.
This Tuesday, day after Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Yes, day after Martin Luther King Day, because we wouldn't want to talk about the end of humanity on Martin Luther King Day, because that would somehow be sacrilegious. It just feels wrong. It would be very sad. And then I don't actually know what the next book on that list is, but there will be next month after that something else that we put on sale. Are we thinking maybe about Lorelei? I don't know where we are.
No, we didn't put anything about Lorelei. Lorelei will go on sale until later on.
Okay. Well, Tracy knows these things, so she will tell me what goes on sale next after Rise of the European, and I'll say, hey, everybody, I had this great idea about what should be on sale next. Because that's the way it works. But keep your eyes out, if you like to pick up books sort of at a discount rate, or if you'd like to try something, like the Alder's World 1 is available for free, sort of as an intro to our universe and to the Alder's World series. Keep your eyes out. We've always got one of them. We will always have one of them available. Also, the introductory version of the role-playing game, which is completely playable, is available on RPG Now for free. So there's a good entryways, gateways into the Dryden experiment out there at all times, at least into the science fiction universe. The next thing that we've got coming, the Big Damn Space Battles game, we continue to believe we will release in March, even if we back the role-playing or the Kickstarter off and restart it. We think we'll still be able to launch the game in March. And then in April will come the third installment of Alder's World, which is the final of that series. It's Alder's World number 3. I'm busy writing away on that story, and I'm sad because some characters are going to die, but it's what has to happen. So those characters that you're getting all attached to in book 1, actually most of the characters from book 1 don't make it to book 3, so let's just be honest about that.
That's what I was thinking.
By the time we go
Shouldn't that
through,
be characters you start getting attached to in book 2?
yeah, I kill a bunch of them too. Anyway,
Yeah.
I have this theory that you really don't give a shit about the characters, you just kill them and keep the environment. That's not actually true, but we do go through a surprising number of the sideline characters in Alder's World 1 and 2.
Different, but there's a lot of time lapse too.
That's true. That one of the things that's sort of interesting about that series is that there's something like 70 years between the first and the last book. I'd have to sit down, or first scene and last scene. I'd have to sit down and do the math. It may actually be over 100 years. So in that time, we have some characters who meet unfortunate and/or exciting ends, and we have some characters that we just kind of lose over the course of time. But very interesting. I suppose you could say, in a way, it's almost a book about the world because we follow it from very early on, very far through, but that's not accurate. It's a story about Alder. Anyway, okay, look how distracted I am. Did I mention I have ADD? Then the other thing that's very exciting and I'm very anxious to report on is the Dryden Nightmares collection that we have been talking about since, I think, September. Is now in edits. It's in development. What we did, we wanted to create a shared environment for people to write horror stories in, but horror's a really broad genre, and it's got a lot of stuff in it. And Eugene wrote us this very nice introduction to a universe that is bent, just in and of itself. There's a problem with the universe, and so different parts of the universe manifest this twisted poisoning in different ways, and so whatever genre of horror you encounter in our horror universe, or whatever style, that's how that particular section is twisty. So that was really brilliant, by the way, Eugene, and I really enjoyed that. I've read it several times now. And we took in a collection of stories, and we sort of said to authors, send us whatever you're interested in, whatever kind of horror, we've built this setting that'll take it all. And sort of interestingly, everybody sent us the teaser to something larger, or almost everything that we received was a teaser to something larger. We got stuff from Kitty Sarkozy, we got stuff from Maura Conrad, we got stuff from Eugene, we have things from me, and everybody kind of wanted to go, okay, well, here's the thing I'm working on, but it's just a little bit of it. So what we did is we're going to call this book, I'm pretty sure we're settled on Prelude to the Nightmare, and we're going to have each of the authors write a short biography and an explanation of why they wanted to include this, sort of where do you think you're going to go with this, what do you think you're going to do with this. Oh, I'm sorry, Fluffy Sama is the author that I'm forgetting about. They contributed as well. And we had a look at very first rough draft right at the new year, so 2 weeks ago now. I've been back through all of the stories. I asked for editorial changes to one of them, which is fabulous. We just work with some awesome folks, and the one that I wanted some editorial changes, it was a great conversation. We sat down and were like, yeah, that'd be cool. Okay, that'd be cool too. Let's do that. So it was a very, very positive experience, and it is now sort of been set aside until we get closer to production, mostly because it's stacked up behind Alder's World 3, but we will go to line edits for that book as we head into development for Alder's World 3, and Welcome to the Nightmares is expected to be released in May. Now, those of you considering submitting to Dryden, something you should know is that what we would like to do is release a Nightmares collection of some kind every October, and so we are open for submissions, because in order to put something in print by October, we need to have rough draft by May or June, I suppose, at the latest. And so we are open and soliciting for October for nightmares. So if you have a fun, twisty, creepy, I think the record for creepiest story ever submitted to Dryden goes to Kitty Sarkozy. That's just creepy business, and she did a great job with that. So be aware, we're looking for new authors. We're eager to work with new authors. We're eager to get our Nightmares environment established, and that October collection might be a very good place. So send your submission to drydensubmissions@gmail.com, and we'll take a look, and maybe we'll put you into print. That would be very exciting. The next thing that's coming out, and Tracy, I think we have a June date for this, is the Lucia Kuda short story collection.
If it all goes according to plan, then yes.
Okay, that one's still far enough out that the date is a little bit speculative. I think you can tell our goal is to publish once a month, and so we sort of have a schedule set up, assuming that that's going to happen. Lucy Akuta is an NPC who appeared in the role-playing game just as a side character and was very popular. And when Gavin Revitt, our artistic designer, designed the cover, he made this super sexy cover of Lucy Akuta, and she is now going to have her own short story collection, and she's a very cool character. She started off in Japan in 1066 as an Onobugeisha, which is a caste of female warriors, and was cloned in the year 24 something something, and now makes her living as an assassin in the year 2503, and she's totally badass. One of those stories is finished. I know that work has been done on a couple of the others. Mine has not been started at all because I'm working on Alder's World 3, but I actually know what I'm going to write. I'm going to write the sort of the introductory story, and so it needs to be sort of prosy and narrative and exposition, a lot of exposition. So I know what I need to do for it. I just haven't done it yet. So we expect that to come out in July. Our very own Tracy Vincent will be appearing. I believe Eugene will be appearing. We think that Gavin and Nick, who Gavin is our artistic director and Nick is our game designer out of Ballarat, will be contributing. So that would be very, very badass. We'd love to see those stories as a pair of very talented gentlemen. And that's the last thing that has a for sure date on it. And then, Tracy, I have this note. You're going to love this. Oh, gory details. One of the things that will be coming with the Nightmares collection is a series of sort of tongue-in-cheek essays about what happens in the real world if you do the things that they do in horror movies and what a terribly bad idea they are. Generally speaking, but it's mostly comedy. Those appeared originally in Nocturnal News magazine, which was put out by Froggy Bottom Press, but K.A. Patterson, Queen Mum, who owns Froggy Bottom, gave us permission to use them in the Dryden experiment, and we are eternally grateful and love our Queen Mum with all our hearts. And those do not have a date. Tracy is working on them, and they just kind of get worked on between other projects because they're already written, they're in draft form. And so we'll put them out when we put them out. Then I'm going to talk about some other things. So those of you who are kind of watching for projects or interested in projects that are out there, Keith Lewis, if you're watching, we love the things you talk about. And we'd like to talk about board games, and we'd like to talk about drinking games, and we'd like to talk about a lot of the things that you talk about. We're really excited that you are interested in Dryden, and if it's not something that we can develop ourselves, we'll support you while you develop it through whatever means you have. So I want to kind of call you out by name because we keep kind of having these little conversations, and I want to say as publicly as I possibly can, Keith, we're interested in what you talk about. We don't know how we'll do it, but we never do. We just get in there and start swinging until something cool happens. Then we have several expansions to the Big Damn Dryden, which is our role-playing game going on. We're expecting one from Nick, who is the designer, called Patrons and Vassals. It's going to include transportation rules, driving rules, rules for smaller organizations. Those of you familiar with the game know that the original game was written for mostly focused on the three major corporations in the science fiction universe. Patrons and Vassals moves into some of the smaller organizations. If you've read The Bleeding Mind, which is the Psychic Rules expansion, you know that we got into Synapse Biotechnology and the Golden Market and some of those other guys, more niche kind of guys, niche kind of guys. In The Bleeding Mind, and Nick is going to explore some more of those in Patrons and Vassals. Then we have a pair of rule sets coming out of oh dear, Russell Sawyer. Russell is writing H plus and a rules expansion for the Dryden in the 21st century, which is really a kind of a nice dovetail. One of the stories coming in the short story collection happens not very far in the future. It's a story about the Third World War, or the Extermination Wars, I guess they're called, which are very early in our science fiction future. Russell's rule set for the 21st century includes technologies that we have today or will have within the next century, and provides the paths and skins for those technologies. And then his H plus, he got really interested in the fusion between technology and people. Maybe you would never invent AI just because you got so good at merging people and machines that you didn't need it. I haven't seen any of that yet, but it's really, really promising, and it has a very cool cover. You can see it on the Dryden Players and Fans page, as a matter of fact. And coming out of our playtest group in Manhattan is a thing called the Academy, and the Academy is very cool. And Tony and Chelsea, if you guys are watching, we're waiting. We're ready to talk about Academy. The Academy is this sort of concept that rather than just sit down and write a character for the role-playing game, what you would do is play this mini-game where you acquired the base skills and traits that you would have then as a player character in Big Damn Sci-Fi, in Big Damn Dryden, which is the role-playing game. I've seen just some tickler information on that, just some intro information. It's a really cool concept, and we're really behind it. And that's everything that's on my list. Tracy, how'd I do?
Sounds good to me.
All right. Eugene, did I miss anything?
No.
No, looking good. So just to make a kind of a general statement about how these projects come to be and how your project might become involved in the Dryden experiment, because we're Creative Commons, anybody jumps in. Just jump in. We had an email one day from Greta Vanderroel, who's an author out of Australia, and she said, "Oh, by the way, I wanted to let you know I put a novel in the Dryden experiment." Okay. Well, we had talked to her in the past, and she wanted to set sort of far, far out in the future, 20,000 years out in the future, this civilization that she wanted, and we had given her a star cluster out there, and she had put a novella out there. But she just published this novel and decided that it should be a Dryden novel, and so attached it, and on it went. And that's totally cool to do. We find art from time to time that we have no idea where it came from, or we find it on DeviantArt or something that's Dryden art. We think that's really hip, and we try to reach out to whoever's doing the art and get them involved. But really, that's all it takes, is just to do it, and then to let us know that you did it. Working directly with House, just send us an email. Tell us what you're working with. Tell us, why you want our help with it, rather than just do it on your own. And if it's something that we feel like we can support, we will. And even if we don't support it, we'll support it, if that makes any sense. We'll tell people that it's out there. We'll get involved in the marketing for it. The Dan Hunt story story collection that I was talking about earlier is not coming out of House. He publishes on his own. He's got his own mechanism. So we're really easy to get a hold of. We really like to work with people. We enjoy meeting new people. We have tremendous creativity in our organization, and we think that's really fantastic and dynamic. And the really kind of cool thing is that we don't work for anybody. We do the work that we love because we love to do it. And you as an artist, or you as a creative out there, this is a great place to just come and hang with brains that think like yours, and cool things happen. For example, One day, I got mailed a coffee mug. This is the Rise of the European coffee mug. This is the art that Gavin Revitt did. That's the cover. These are all of the authors, and Dan Hunt for Christmas this year gave us all one. That's just cool. That's hip. Let's just hang out and work together and do the things we love. I say that as if it's always that easy. Dryden House does do editing, and we do design, and there are days when people think that I'm a complete jerk because of what I said about their story.
I
And
know.
Tracy has had conversations with people that didn't always go the most pleasant. But that's part of the editing process and part of the design, and that will happen if you work with House. You will get edited. Um, but you're free not to work with House as well if you just want to come on and share the environment. The number one best way to kind of get to know that science fiction environment, which is our biggest, is to get the free version of the role-playing game off of RPG Now. It has planetary maps and descriptions of systems, and the chronology of our universe and its history is there in the back of the book. It's a great way to get introduced. All right. Well, that's proven to be a heck of a short meeting. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to talk to? Things that I have missed?
I'm good.
Tracy is good. Eugene, are you good?
Good.
All right. Well, we did that in 31 minutes, y'all. That's a new record. Thank you very much, Rebecca, for your kind words and for joining us here today. I sure look forward to seeing things that you write. So anyway, everybody, I'm Joel, Katie, and this is my hot pink bedroom with the big black polka dots, and you've been listening to the Dryden Experiment Weekly Meeting. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.